Hello, welcome back to theCUBE coverage here in NYSE studio. This is theCUBE East. This is our Wall Street studio inside the NYSE. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. We've got our Palo Alto, Silicon Valley connecting Silicon Valley and Wall Street, technology and money together. Great network, the Wired Network, the NYSE Wired Network, Brian Bauman's putting together. It's a great open community, and we've had a great Cyber Week. It's our third day of coverage. Danny Brickman's here, co-founder and CEO of Oasis. Danny, great to see you. We saw each other on the show floor the other night when you guys were having your Cyber Start party, part of the community you guys have over there. Great community, by the way. Love all the guests. Super smart, entrepreneurial, having fun, taking
Amazing
names,
energy.
kicking ass, as we say. Great stuff. You guys came out of stealth recently, got some funding. How much funding did you guys raise?
75 in total.
75 in total. Yeah, instant market success. Even today, as we speak, you guys uncovered a vulnerability on Microsoft. It's published on hackernews.com. I just was reading it. The Oasis vulnerability identified by the Oasis.
Yes.
I put in the Oasis because there's a famous bar in Menlo Park, but Oasis is the company name. Talk about the vulnerability, Authquake, MFA, Microsoft MFA. Take us through the news real quick. This is super newsy.
So obviously the team is focusing all the time on finding like how hackers can bypass a lot of like factors or MFAs that we have or like other stuff in the identity space. And the team in Israel, the researchers in Israel found out a way to brute force actually the MFA process of Microsoft, which we disclosed and closed together in October. But it was a major opportunity for like almost 50% success within 70 minutes of bypassing MFA.
That's a huge percentage and
Yes.
timetable.
Yes.
I mean, how do you respond to that? That's hard.
Look, security is an it's always evolving space. Like the more we progress with technology and innovation, the more like gaps we're finding, and we need to all the time be aware of that and close that and make sure that we're eyes open on that.
Let's talk about the company, the origination, how you guys started, where it all came from, and the journey, because identity is where the action is. And if I'm a hacker, I go for the identity.
Of course.
I want to get in, I'll do whatever it takes, social engineering, whatever it takes, MFA. There's a lot of capabilities. It's the hardest thing to protect against, and it's the number one target for hackers. You agree, obviously, because that's what you do. Thank you for that. Please get it better, because I want to be protected all the time. Take us through the originating, why you guys were founded, what was the motivation, and how did it all play out?
So both myself and my co-founder and many of the founding members of Oasis came from the IDF, which is not a surprise for an Israeli company, but all of us being like on the hacking side, obviously, working for the right nations, but and our focus through the years shifted towards focusing on identities. As you were mentioning, right? It's easier at the end of the day, right? And the scale is so big. And when we understood the problem is so significant in organizations today, we decided to take a look at what's going on, what has changed in the industry through the years. And obviously, as we all know, identity people is probably one of the hardest jobs in security today, right? And it's getting harder and harder the more we're progressing with transformation like cloud or AI. And when we started looking at the identity landscape that was for many years focused on the human side, right? We realized that actually behind the scenes, there's a small little creature that is exploding right now, which we call it non-human identities, but it's the service accounts, the token, the keys, all of those components, all of those authentication methods that allow machines to actually access to data, access to applications. And we're talking today about a scale of 20 to 40 times more non-human than human, which creates a challenge that we don't know how to control, how to manage. And this is where we decided to open up a company and actually address and build this security stack for those non-human identities.
You saw early the opportunity around the machines doing work on behalf of humans, which is what Gen AI is basically doing. So, okay, take us to today, where you guys came out of stealth. Take us through that. Launched this year.
Yes.
Cool. What were some of the things you knocked down right away? We'll talk about some of the momentum.
So first of all, our focus originally was to understand like what are the big enterprises challenges with like non-human identities when it comes to innovation that everyone is driving. Today, like we're working with the biggest enterprises in the United States, and many of them are focusing a lot on AI, as we all know of that, right? But those AI agents are actually replicating the human actions, right? But doing it at scale, which creates more and more non-human identities, which today in this traction in the market, like everyone understands that this is the biggest gap that we have in the identity space that is not controlled.
Yeah.
And with that, obviously, we went to establish this product. significant investment by Sequoia Excel and CyberStarts.
Not too shabby. Some nice names there. Tier ones all the way around. I mean, nice.
In many, like I was, oh my God, my partner Sequoia will be pissed on me. I'm like quoting him here, but like he said, when human identities was a big issue, Okta got an investment from Sequoia, right? Today, the biggest challenge in the identity space is the non-human, actually.
Yeah.
And this is where the backing.
All right, give us some of the use case. Scope to scale. You mentioned some sizes earlier. What's going on inside the large enterprises, inside the large hyperscales, inside the large critical infrastructure providers who are all worried about this because they're the big targets? What are some of the non-human machine-to-machine use cases that you guys are seeing now, and what do you see around the corner?
It's, first of all, the scale itself is proliferating because of what we said, AI and cloud transformation and more workloads coming into play and third parties that are being integrated into the system. But there's an always question that we're asking. If you have your own password, would you share it with your buddy just like regularly on Slack or something like that?
No.
Of course no.
Yeah, go.
But as a developer, just to share it with my buddy to help me debug some system, share a token or a secret, it's something that is done more regularly.
Yeah.
And this just creates a bigger challenge for organizations to control and understand like how it looks like. Just taking an example, Microsoft AI breach a year ago, right? A hacker only entered to a GitHub repo, a public GitHub repo, took a token and accessed directly to the database. 38 terabytes were read. No protection in the middle.
Huh.
Developers just like share this token between themselves on GitHub repo.
That's collaborative. For them, that's collaboration.
Yes.
Not necessarily a security posture.
Exactly. And like when we're looking at that, like we don't want to slow down the business. We don't want to slow down and say like, hey, dear developers, don't create like access. Don't create access to databases. This is the day-to-day job. We want to progress. We want to create more value to our customers.
So what's the secret sauce? Okay, so got that. Obviously great to get that new art environment. Certainly we'll see more and more machines with agents coming. Oh my, come on, it's going to be even more prolific in that dynamic. What's the secret sauce that you guys have to help people not lose the momentum on the innovation? We don't want to lose the developer productivity. I mean, AI is going to help us, right?
Yes.
So it shouldn't hurt us. What do you guys do to keep that acceleration going while giving the protection?
So three main elements. First of all, as every security tool, we first of all need to understand what is in front of us and to discover it. So Oasis is focusing on finding all the different types of identities that we're not able to discover today in a very fast manner. Like I'm speaking about minutes, right? The second thing is, which is like very important in that space, is just like reconstructing the context. A lot of those identities, we don't know who owns them, what is it used for? Therefore, we're in a paralysis mode of like, should we disable this account? Should we rotate that? Everyone is afraid to break anything in the production, right? So reconstructing the context, understanding these elements of like usage, ownership, permissions given, are critical path towards the third piece, which is the lifecycle management. And something that Oasis understood pretty quickly, that like, we don't want to enforce any specific tools on developers. We want to help them.
Yeah.
We want them to bring their own infrastructure and us helping them to actually manage the lifecycle of those accounts.
You know, this whole lifecycle management, you brought that up, that's become quite the conversation here on theCUBE, where you look at standard product development. There's versions. You got a new version, you sunset the old one, or the backwards compatibility. Gen AI, we're starting to see that become an issue. Certainly APIs, we just had an API provider on Con earlier. They treat APIs like products now. They have to, because it's large scale. I mean, that's the internet. It's critical foundational stuff. Same with security. Where are we in the productization of what's getting hardened in that discipline, and what's now emerging? Because you're starting to see Gen AI get to the version where there's also challenges of, is it backwards compatibility? So you need to have kind of that bold factor. What's your reaction to that idea of versioning or productization of security? Because this is where you can maybe streamline a little bit or harden things. What's your thoughts?
I think we need to streamline, because as I said before, we don't want to slow down. We want to move fast. And this is where like we need all the time to understand the context, as we were mentioning, of like, how is it impacting the business? Is it still in use? Should we sunset it or not? Right? All of those questions should be answered, but we need to help it to happen.
Got it. Talk about the momentum. Give us some customer examples. You don't need to name names. Sometimes you don't want to reveal the names with security conversations, but take us through the use cases. Where are you guys winning? What's the value proposition? What's the business model? How do I consume the technology? Take us through some of the basics.
Just as an example from a Fortune 500 company that is actually doing the right processes of lifecycle management, right? As we connected and started working with the team, we realized that the team is working extremely hard on like rotation, decommission of accounts, and they're not keeping up with the pace. We figure out that we're speaking about a growth of between 30 to 50% a year. And this creates challenges of like, first of all, we're not covering everything, but also we're like leaving a lot of significant gaps in our infrastructure, which for them, it was so critical to have the automation and streamlining the life cycle of those accounts in an automatic fashion that can be controlling the scale of the problem.
Who are you guys selling to? If I'm a customer, okay, I have nightmares about these scenarios. Who's the target persona you guys talk to for Oasis to say, hey, you'll get our value proposition instantly? What's that buyer look like?
I think we started our show about speaking about the identity people, right?
Yeah.
They became right now the most critical part of security today, right? Because the transition that we saw towards like hackers leveraging identities at scale creates a huge challenge for them. Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of identity people are now becoming like the cool guys, if you will, right? And I'm happy it's happening because like it's such a critical piece of our infrastructure, so we need to control it. And therefore, in many cases, identity people like understand the scope of the problem, and they're saying like, oh my God, till now, I couldn't do anything. Now I understand, I see, I can act.
Yeah. We had a guest on earlier here on theCUBE, and we were off camera. I wish we had the cameras rolling. We were talking about security. He's like, remember the Olympics when they were having the shooting competition and you had the one person, there's a meme going around with the one person with the scope and the apparatus and all the things, and it had all the logos around it, and then the sharp with the hand with the pistol, the Turkish guy with the pistol, just hits bullseye.
Yeah. And
the meme went around. It went viral in the security area because the whole point was you can get loaded up with all these vendors.
Exactly.
But the one guy comes in, the hacker, and just shoots it straight, and one weapon, handgun, simple. This is kind of the world you're in because identity is that one rifle shot, one shot, you're in. Once you get someone's password, you're in. It's lateral movement, no problem. Tokens, no problem. I'll take those too. I'll access systems. I mean, I don't need all this. I just need to stop that.
Exactly.
Fail once, you don't need all this heavy lifting. That brings up the whole vendor sprawl, and can be distracting. What's your reaction to one? The meme's pretty cool, but I'll send it to you. And I'll share it on social. But this just kind of encapsulates the security challenges because it takes one shot.
And you know, like I think a few years ago we were discussing about the topic of like assuming breach, right?
Yeah.
We need to, at the end of the day, it's a statistic game. Zero trust and everything comes to play because we understand that we cannot prevent it.
Yeah.
It will happen. But we need to have like at least the best control we can have in order to protect that, right? Like even the best border in the world, we will find a gap.
Yeah.
But if we have the processes to control that, we can mitigate the breach in that case.
Talk about a customer that you've worked with. You can share an example where they came in, used your product. Maybe they weren't, I won't say skeptical, but like, startups are always earning their way, where they went, wow, man, this is phenomenal, saved our butts. Give an example of that and what happened, why you guys were successful, what was the key to success?
So, it's interesting, it's probably one of our first ones, but when we connected to their system, they knew they have challenges with non-human identities. But we found out that a specific identity was shared with a third party with admin permissions over their cloud infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
And not only this, we also told them that like you're not working with this third party anymore. There's an obligation from his side. So basically right now your perimeter is exposed to a third party that they're not obligated to you to control or save it, which means that like you completely exposed right now with admin permissions. And they were shocked. They didn't know that because they have a lot of non-human identities. They could not contextualize them and understand what is the risk.
So they didn't know it was there.
They didn't know that.
And the relationship changes. That's the context.
Yes.
And that permission could have been set or identified. And then what's the remediation? What happens next? Do you guys get involved in that? Does the customer have to do that?
So first of all, we're getting involved in that. In that case, it's very simple.
Yeah.
It was just disable the account, right?
Yeah.
But in many cases, when we are seeing like over-permissive accounts or accounts that are being used out of band, we're helping organizations. First of all, clean up, rotate, and actually set up the right IP limitations, right permissions, setting up the owner, putting rotation processes in place automatically, vaulting those accounts and using existing infrastructural tools.
A lot of your peers in your community all have come from the IDF, some different units, and have that military background is consistent. We've seen that. What has that done for your journey? How has that helped you as a founder as you get into the commercial side of things? And startups are hard, right? So you know that. So it's like not easy. But you have to go out, get a beachhead, secure some customers, put a growth plan together, get stakeholder funders, investors, put a team together. How has your background helped you? I mean, it's just kind of like a military operation, I guess. Get a team and put them together and go to work. And take us through that.
So, it's interesting to look at that because like the enemy is always evolving, as we know. Like in the case of security, the enemy is the hackers, right? And I think the most important thing that we got from the IDF, that innovation is not a matter of like, just do it. It's just like, it's a matter of survival. Like if you don't innovate, you start losing, right? And therefore, like this innovation, I would say, mode that everyone is bringing to the table, just like thinking, how should we think differently? How can we solve unsolvable problems? This is what drives, I would say, the most innovation.
As they say, never go out in the open field without cover fire. Exactly. And security, you have to have sharing, you have to have collaboration. So if you're a big company, you should be working with people that know what they're talking about.
Exactly.
And expertise. What's next for you guys? What are you guys looking to do? What's the growth strategy as you guys start to get escape velocity and get momentum, as they say, lift? What's the growth strategy?
So first of all, as we're developing the product right now and evolving like the innovation over there, we're planning to be expanding more and more through the big enterprise for the Fortune 500 and Global 2000 to help organizations to actually control the non-human identity problem and challenge. And we're keeping our eyes all the time open because the problem that we had last year, AI changed the whole game. I'm just like even joking sometimes and telling it we're in a Gen Z era of infrastructure.
And they just came out of COVID. They graduated college out of COVID. I mean, there's new things they haven't seen.
All the time. Every day, like a developer is using something new. We need to be aware of that and help your organization secure this. Like,
and I was talking to somebody the other day about the Gen Z generation and COVID, and my daughter graduated college. She was in the class that actually graduated in the COVID generation, which they would live the whole 4 years. And the discussion was, it's an opportunity because they have a fresh lens. Now there's some things that are unknown, but that's a good thing. A fresh perspective coming in. Now you get the Gen Z infrastructure you're referring to. Hey, it's changing. It has different requirements, different perspectives, opinions, postures. I love the opinionated infrastructure conversation. Opinionated is a term used all the time. I want to have an opinionated technology stack, meaning I'm dealing with a lot of different services. I'm standing them up, I'm tearing them down. Machines are talking to machines. This is a new era.
It is, and it is a new era, and I think I'm personally very excited about it because, like, well, it's just like if you're taking the Gen Z example again, like, we cannot limit the Gen Z generation of like doing something or not doing something. We can scope it, we can direct, we can help, right? And I think the more we're letting people try, innovate, think, the faster we'll grow, the more value all of us will get.
If you think about the Gen Z, it's an interesting metaphor. I love how you brought that up because it is a transitional generation, unlike I'm an X generation, and the millennials, they're stuck in the middle. Sorry if millennials are out there. Boomers, they're already out the door. But you got the Gen Z, they're transitional. If you look at like in business and all their verticals, you're seeing younger leadership. Why? Because companies want a Gen Z leader to align the business and, or in this case, infrastructure with the new capabilities and expectations.
Exactly.
That are happening. First of all, in security, the expectation is don't get hacked, no breaches, kill the bad guys, metaphorically speaking, or whatever. What is the impact on that on the business model? What have you seen that can give hope that the transition is going well, or is it a personnel challenge? How is this transition working in your mind as this, I'd call it the Gen Z transition up in technology and workforce?
It's instead of work, like security is always just like afraid to work against, right? And many of the security leaders that I'm speaking with are saying they want to work with, right? The best analogy that I heard was like, when you're driving a car without a seatbelt, right? You wouldn't be driving fast. You will drive like 10 miles per hour, 20 miles per hour. But the moment you're putting the seatbelt on, you can drive fast, right? And this is what security looks to be, like the seatbelt, to help them, to be part of this journey, not being like the boomer that says like no.
The boomers didn't wear seatbelts; they would cut the seatbelts off, and then my generation had to learn how to adapt to the seatbelts.
Yes.
So we lived on both sides. We were the weirdest, I think, generation, the Xers. But great conversation. I love what you guys are doing. Give a plug for what you guys are working on now, hiring. What are you looking for? And customers and prospects that are watching, what can they expect from you?
So, first of all, we're working right now on expanding the platform to be a holistic approach from like the governance, the detection, response, and to gain a full visibility around that. So like, obviously, everyone is welcome to join Oasis.security, right? LinkedIn or website, etc. And we're looking right now to expand on all the fronts, obviously R&D, product, and go-to-market as we're approaching towards 25, which will be a very significant year for us, especially when the regulations are actually changing.
And you're hiring engineers, obviously, software developers and engineers for sure.
Exactly.
And locations, Tel Aviv?
Tel Aviv, New York, and all across the United States.
Yeah, no problem. Virtual.
No problem.
All right. Great to have you on theCUBE. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Danny, appreciate it. Check out Oasis. Again, in the news today as they uncovered a vulnerability with MFA. Again, identity is the top target. Again, we need more security. Security is changing. And again, the Gen Z generation of infrastructure is upon us. Love that. I'll be using that. Appreciate that. I'm theCUBE here. I'm John Furrier with theCUBE here at the NYSE. Thanks for watching.